Hello, you beautiful human you. Welcome back. What are we talking about today? Your have-tos. I know it seems really counterintuitive, but it's really important, especially for us neurospicy folks, to figure out if our have-tos are serving us in a manner that's helping us to move forward. And if not, then we can get curious. Oftentimes, me as a neurospicy human, when I think about have-tos, it creates this ick inside of me. And I put it off, and I find other things to get distracted by until the last possible moment. And if it's something that I'm interested in, then I can get a lot of things done with it in a very short amount of time. But if it's not something that interests me, then it just may not get done. Which is not great when you're building a business, especially. So that's why I want to talk about how your have-tos might be killing you and doing a lot more damage than you think. Am I saying not to have goals? Nope. Am I saying not to make plans? Nope. And it depends on the type of person you are. Some people really excel with to-do lists and checklists, and that gives them the structure that they need to stay on target and stay on task and to continue to move forward, which is amazing. But for people like me, the to-do lists don't do me any favors. Occasionally, I will brain dump onto a page when I need to make sure that I complete all the different moving parts and pieces. But for the bulk of the time, it's much better when I don't have a to-do list. So I'm here to tell you that if you're like me, it's okay. There are ways to create loose structure and to ebb and flow with whatever life is throwing you that day and that moment, and still be able to move the needle forward. For me, it's much easier if I have like a broad overview and I just keep it in my mind. Which again, if that doesn't work for you, feel free to write them down and put it on sticky notes. Put it on your bathroom mirror, above the sink where you wash dishes, wherever it is that you're gonna see it, to help remind you. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a to-do list. It could just be a goal or a dream rather than a goal. Because sometimes even goals can suck the life out of your dream. Because we end up feeling like we're behind and like we're never going to catch up. And then that guilt spiral kicks in because we shoulda, coulda, woulda, and we didn't. But that's where the grace comes in, and to know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And that's not an easy thing because that's not something that we're taught growing up typically, especially in the Western world. And not all of us are meant to go, 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 do. Because then, as my friend Jess says, we end up in a load of shit. Which is never good for anybody. That's where the overwhelm and the burnout and all those icky mindfuckery things creep in. So that's where if you need a permission slip, I've got handfuls of them to try different things. To see what works for you, just let me know down in the comments. So back to my story. I have a whole array of things that I could do. I could work on a post, I could work on a front-face video, I could work on an ad, I could reach out in DMs to folks that I haven't heard from in a while in my community, I could create a YouTube video, I could jot down ideas in my Google Doc for future content, I can clean up my classroom, I can work on graphics. Like, there's so many things. The reason why I do that is because my brain and my body work better when I have a whole range of things, but I'm also not attempting to complete any specific thing typically in one fell swoop. I work in bits and pieces, and it's something that I don't have to work out as far as like, oh, I need to do this part here and this part here and this part, and I don't figure out what the timing is. I just dip my toes in, or I start working on something until my time is up. Like, as a mom, and I homestead and we radically unschool, sometimes shit goes crazy. That's unexpected, and that's okay. It's completely fine. Because of the way that I have figured out how I operate best, and in a way that doesn't have me feeling like I'm behind. Because anything that I do to contribute to any one of those things moves the needle forward. And I know that's really hard, especially if you're just starting out, or if you've been brought up in a family or in a culture that says that you have to continue to push and push and push and push and push to get better and better and better, and you have to do big, huge chunks at a time. I'm here to tell you that if that doesn't jive with you, it's more likely that you're going to get a lot more done in a lot less time if you break it up and you take breaks, just like we talked about before in the video where we were talking about doing boring shit, right? Like, how do you actually get the boring shit done and doing it in a fashion that is sustainable that you can repeat, breaking things down is incredibly paramount. And then testing. And even if you've tested before and decided this was the way that was best for you, I always want to challenge you every quarter or two, especially if you haven't done it for years, you're due for another try, to test and see what works best for you. Play around with it. Have some fun. Maybe what worked for you best before isn't what works best for you now. That's another caveat of being human and just in our general society. We think that, once we find the one thing, we stick with it, and we have to stick with it for our whole life. Whether it's our work, whether it's our interest, the food we like, what we want to do with our life, or the supplements we take. Things change. You change, I change, the way we think changes, the way we operate changes. And so what was best for us even 6 months ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, may not be what's serving us best now. So that's why I always challenge you to get curious and to ask yourself questions, to get quiet and sit still. And if there's any of that weird tension where you feel like you're behind, if you're overwhelmed, if you're burning out, you have to get quiet and ask yourself, figure out where it's coming from, and then ask yourself what that's serving you and whether or not you're on autopilot. A lot of the times when we think something is working for us, we just go on autopilot with it and we never come back to revisit it. And that's a huge problem because the only constant in life is change. Everything's changing all the freaking time. And so if you get yourself into a rut where you think that you're just set, then you're going to miss a whole lot of things. You could miss. I'm not going to say you will miss. You could miss the growth, the abundance, the learning, the expansion that could happen if you just come back and try new things and play around and figure out what serves you best right here and right now. And nobody else can tell you what works best for you. Like, we can all make suggestions. I share what works for me here because typically as a neurospicy human, the mainstream neurotypical way of doing things doesn't suit me. It doesn't serve me well. It doesn't help me progress. It keeps me stuck in a box. And I don't like that. So I'm constantly getting curious. I want to constantly be learning. I want to constantly be pushing my growth edges. I want to constantly both be in my brain, but also firmly planted in my body. Because if we're always up in our head, the clusterfuck that happens with our mind and our thoughts can derail us from what we're actually meant to be doing, which is never any good, neither for us or the people that we came here to serve. So how long has it been since you've checked in with yourself and your current way of doing things, and whether or not those have-tos and those hard set goals are serving you in the way that you think? The other reason I don't set goals, I don't set hard goals. I have a knowing, like I know that I want to serve more people and I want to help people so that they can do what they came here to do without giving a flying fuck about what anybody else or the world says or thinks. And so that's what I'm focused on, and everything that I do in that umbrella is focused on moving that forward, while I also don't have, I want to make this amount of money by this time, I don't want to have this thing happen by this date, because I know that everything is fluid. And when I say I could have things done by a certain date, yes, I do them. Oftentimes before they're even supposed to be due, because that's just the way that my brain works. Sometimes I leave it to the last minute, and then it still ends up pretty fantastic. But at the same time, like, pushing myself like that isn't always great, and I've learned that about myself. So while I can do it, I don't prefer to do it all the time. And I've also learned over the last handful of years that if I can just loosely have the goals, the ideas of what I want to pursue and what I want to do and what I want to learn and what I want to help others with, and I just keep moving the needle forward towards that, there are these odd doors that tend to come up and open that I never would have thought about. And I know we've talked about this in the previous video too, like, sometimes if you focus on a goal so hard and you think that it has to happen this way in this time frame, you're gonna miss a hell of a lot of opportunity and other growth and expansion along the way because you're so focused, because you know how it should happen. And you get really frustrated if you have speed bumps or like sharp corners or like detours. But part of the process and the journey of it is to enjoy the actual journey. And if you're open and willing to open some doors that show up out of nowhere, you might find out that where it takes you is actually better than you could have ever imagined. And I only can say that because I know it's true, because for me at least, because that's happened for me, right? Like I came to school with one thought or idea of how it was going to go. But then within 4 or 5 months, something else opened up, right? And I pivoted. And then I continued to build and continued to build. I continued to learn. I continued to chat with other humans and make amazing friends and relationships with other business owners that then serve me in wild, amazing ways, and I can serve them as well. But then that leads to me trying new things that I never would have thought to try before, which then leads to other doors that open, and it's just like the whole process is like blown my mind over and over and over again. So that's why I'm sharing it with you. It's because for most of my life, I tried to control everything. I tried to control what was happening, how it was going to happen. And that was based on how I was brought up in societal programming and all of this different stuff. And I was never taught otherwise. So we were taught from birth that we need to source this from here, and this is where you get information from, and this is who you trust. Like, we're not taught to trust ourselves, which is a huge issue. So when you're able to trust yourself and you're able to let go of that control, and yet you still take messy as fuck action, even though it may seem like it's crazy, wild things can happen. So, which side of the spectrum are you on? Are you a goal-oriented person and you like to set goals and do lists and all of that? Or are you more of an ebb and flow person? And how is it serving you? Is it working well for you? Is it not? Drop it below in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button. Or if you have a friend that could really use this, send it to them. I always love seeing new folks follow along on this journey, and I love hearing from you in the comments about your thoughts and your experiences. That's part of why I am here, because I'm so intrigued and I want to listen and I want to hear from you. So I hope you have a freaking amazing week, and we will see you next time.